Welcome back to more Van Helsing, specifically the London assignment. And it kind of typifies how insanely confident the filmmakers were at the possibility of a franchise. Which, as history has proven, hubris came before a fall, and we're left with an awful film and today's animated feature. So let's get into it. This is Van Helsing, the London assignment. Of course, we begin on a foggy London street, because all of London is foggy all the time, and a woman is approached by what looks to be Jack the Ripper, or someone of that style. He grabs and then kills the woman, which is surprisingly bloody considering the original film wasn't bloody at all, and opening his bag of surgical tools, he uses a device to take something out of her body. Now, I'm only assuming this is the movie saying he was Jack the Ripper, mainly because it's set in London, and he's both killing women, and he looks like the typical Jack the Ripper figure. I'm also assuming that because, just like in Van Helsing, this is also delving deep into the bucket of cliché. So in that sense, it's the perfect prequel. So Dr. Jekyll, because obviously Dr. Jekyll, gets his demon carriage driver to take him to Buckingham Palace with the instruction of "take me to her." Question: why does Jekyll have a demon carriage driver? I don't remember that from the original story. Also, if you're wondering why he's at Buckingham Palace, it's a really stupid reason. We move to Rome as Van Helsing is attacked by a monster. However, because we know it's in Rome, it kinda spoils the surprise that it's actually a training exercise, which Van Helsing brings to an end by shooting an innocent dummy. And I know it's quite admirable that the makers of this managed to get Hugh Jackman and David Wenham, but I'm sorry, you can really tell that they're not voice actors. Have a listen.
Oh, Van Helsing, that last target was a civilian. You know, one of those innocents you Knights of the Holy Order are sworn to protect from the dark forces.
Oh, I don't know, Karl. I thought I detected a hint of demonic influence in its beady little eye.
Beady?
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Also, I was under the impression that Van Helsing met Karl at the start of the movie, except here, it's like they've been working together for years. The bishop then informs Van Helsing of Dr. Jekyll's murders, and he tells him that the doctor can still be saved. And then we get some shoehorned in backstory about the order Van Helsing belongs to. I guess they gotta inform the people who luckily skipped the film. Karl suits up Van Helsing with a shotgun and a few other things, and then he's off to London. And while Van Helsing waits on the rooftops, another woman is murdered, which is pretty shitty if he's up there just waiting for another murder. Would have been nice if he actually stopped the murder, you know? As in his fucking job. Van Helsing runs towards the scream and finds Mr. Hyde doing whatever he's doing to the body, to which he then throws at Van Helsing, knocking him down. Then the body rather gruesomely decays, deforming in Van Helsing's lap. It's quite strange how this is far more gory and adult than the film was, and yet it still keeps that child-friendly, goofy tone. It's as if the makers of this were torn between making something adult and keeping with the tone of the original film. At that moment, the police show up, and for some reason, they don't see the brick shithouse of Mr. Hyde, and instead think Van Helsing is the killer chasing after him. Van Helsing easily slips them, though. Van Helsing chases Mr. Hyde onto the rooftops, managing to catch up and knock him down. But not for long, as Van Helsing falls off the roof, throwing some pellets filled with liquid back onto the roof, which Hyde steps in and runs off. Van Helsing gets back up, and using a pair of goggles is now able to follow Hyde. Which is the first time I can actually say it makes perfect sense for Van Helsing to use, because they're not overtly anachronistic and they're not ridiculously over-engineered. It works well. However, despite how good those pellets might have been, Van Helsing still loses Hyde, as we see Dr. Jekyll watching him from a window. We return to Buckingham Palace as Dr. Jekyll is there to see Queen Victoria herself, acting as her physician. And I get the feeling Queen Vic is using the royal we a bit too much.
We are comforted by that. We do look forward to your visit.
We get it. She's the queen. So the doctor pours Queen Vic a drink of his creepy women's souls, which she drinks and begins to change, as he takes her into a secret passage that legitimately looks like a passage to hell. And Queen Vic then appears thinner and younger. So yeah, Dr. Jekyll, and by extension Mr. Hyde's entire story, is he's making potions for the Queen, making her young again, so he can bang her. Which, looking at Queen Vic, it's an admirable effort. But that's not really Jekyll's character. Surely the character is the embodiment of good versus evil. But here, both Jekyll and Hyde are evil arseholes. So again, in Van Helsing the prequel, they take a character and completely miss the point. Just like in the film. Plus, why did it have to be the Queen? Is it because it's in England and everything has to revolve around the Queen, tea, and core blimey governor? Anyway, back with Van Helsing, he's got the fucking genius plan of dressing up Karl in a dress to lure out Hyde. And, hang on, play that bit from the film.
Oh, you've never even been out of the Abbey. How do you know about vampires?
Did the makers of this and the film collaborate at all? It's not much of a prequel when it doesn't even fit with continuity. Also, at the time this film is set, I'm pretty sure dressing as a woman would be incredibly against his religion. I know they're trying to be funny, but it really doesn't fit with the time period, or even the fucking tone of the film. Hyde appears grabbing Karl, but Van Helsing swings in and starts to fight with Hyde, as he swings a knife at him.
You're no policeman.
You know, I thought the cross in the film were there for the vampires. It's pretty nonsensical that they also work on Hyde, you know? Hyde throws Karl at Van Helsing and then runs off, with Van Helsing once again taking chase across rooftops. He makes his way onto a train and Van Helsing climbs aboard to find him. Searching the carriage, he only finds Dr. Jekyll, which momentarily fools Van Helsing, until he just drinks more of his potion and transforms back into Hyde, jumping through the roof. Would have thought staying in disguise, which works, would have been a better idea. Hyde separates the train cars, but Van Helsing shoots the rail switch, causing Hyde's train to crash, which can't be good because I'm sure there were still people in that part of the train. So thanks for that, Van Helsing.
Van Helsing, how did you get here?
I put on the brakes.
Wait, how the fuck did he get there? He was in a dress on the street. He didn't even know they got on a train. Does he have some kind of weird monk teleportation? Oh wait, he's just a friar. So how did he get there then? It makes no sense. They search the rubble for Hyde, but find he's gone through a hole in the floor. And then Karl gives Van Helsing a new weapon.
What's this?
It's my new invention. La Santa Pistola de Agua.
The holy water pistol?
Again, I guess holy water works on everything now, as they use it to follow Hyde's path. They reach the end of the pipe and... what the fuck? Okay, I've been to London. I don't remember rivers of lava or vast hellscapes, unless you count London itself. They make their way across, just casually jumping over lava like it's nothing, until these stepping stones turn into zombies and begin to attack. Now there are far too many creatures for Van Helsing to handle, and it's just a shame he doesn't have some kind of kill-all button this time. Well, unless you count the holy water pistol that falls into the lava and explodes, destroying all the creatures instantly.
That's convenient.
Also, why the fuck does Dr. Jekyll have a huge army of zombies? I think Robert Louis Stevenson neglected to add that to the novella. Maybe it's in the extended edition. Van Helsing and Karl are making their way into Jekyll's hell house. They find Queen Vic and try to get her to leave the place, but she tells them she's the queen, which they naturally don't believe her at first. But Van Helsing puts two and two together with Jekyll's experiments, so they believe her after that, and try to convince her to leave again. But Jekyll arrives in an explosion that knocks Karl and Van Helsing down, while Jekyll grabs the queen and runs off. And Jekyll throws bombs, trapping them in the building as it collapses, but Van Helsing has the idea to use the dumbwaiter, allowing them to escape. But to ramp up the ridiculous factor a bit, Jekyll takes the queen to her hot air balloon, and as the queen begins to distrust Jekyll, he just gets another one of his minions. Demon minions, seriously, what the fuck? And he just has her put the queen in the balloon and cut the rope. The balloon takes off with Van Helsing holding onto the rope, until Jekyll cuts it even further, but Van Helsing just uses his grappling hook and climbs on the balloon. Jekyll once again turns into Hyde, driving Victoria to Van Helsing.
What do you fear most?
Well, that was pretty cheesy, to say the least. Anyway, they fight with Hyde destroying the balloon, causing it to catch fire and crash onto the Bridge of London. Because again, we need to see all the sights of London to make sure we know it's London, core blimey governor. Hyde ends up hanging from some planks and Van Helsing tries to help him up, which just starts another fight, as it does every time the hero does that. But Hyde stops his attack to save Queen Vic, and this is where Van Helsing shoots him through the arm. And I love the fact the entire bullet is fired, casing and all.
We fire the whole bullet. That's 65% more bullet per bullet.
Hyde falls, dragging Victoria, but he softens her landing and he even shields her from rubble falling on her, which would be admirable if it wasn't for all the murder. Van Helsing jumps down as Hyde falls through the wooden scaffold and manages to save Victoria, with Hyde falling into the river.
Just lie back, close your eyes. Yeah. Think of England.
Well, wasn't that rather sexually suggestive? Van Helsing gets Victoria back to the palace and tells her she will be restored when the sun comes up. And as a reward to Van Helsing, she gives him a big old snog, until she turns into a big old queen and then slaps him.
We are not amused.
It's Queen Victoria, so of course she has to say that, doesn't she? And to set up the opening to the original movie, Jekyll is on a train to Paris with Van Helsing taking chase. But if Victoria was the reason for him killing, I'm not sure why he would still be doing that. So that was Van Helsing, the London assignment. It was an admirable effort, but as a prequel it doesn't work because of the continuity problems with Karl, despite Van Helsing not knowing him until the movie. And in the movie, Van Helsing refers to Jekyll as Hyde's better half.
You know, my superiors would like for me to take you alive so that they may extricate your better half.
I bet they bloody would.
But here, he seems just as evil as Hyde. I mean, did you see the zombies? But at least we're done with Van Helsing. However, before Van Helsing was made, a much more successful attempt at a franchise using a classic movie monster was made. More on that next week. See you next time.